Use transformations to sketch the graph of g of x equals negative 1/2 x to the 7th minus 2. So again, we're going to start with a basic function here and look for transformations. This time the basic function is x to the 7th. Now to get from x to the 7th to our current function, we've got a few transformations that we have to perform. First, the function gets multiplied by 1/2. And what that does is it shrinks vertically by a factor of 1/2. Then that function becomes negative. So this is a reflection. We reflect about the x-axis. And then finally we replace our function with the function minus 2, which means we shift down by 2 units. And this is how we end up with our new function. So let's plot some points from the original function and put them through these transformations. X to the 7th, that is an odd exponent. So we know it is going to go through 0, 0, 1, 1, and then negative 1, negative 1. And remember, because it's a higher exponent, it's going to be real flat here, and then it's going to be very, very, very steep afterwards. In fact, it's going to be so steep, if we plugged in 2 here, 2 to the 7th is 128. So we would be at the point 2, 128. So it's going to look almost like it's going straight up. Of course, it's not actually going straight up, because then it wouldn't satisfy the vertical line test, but it's going to be very, 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 very steep. In fact, the line's probably steeper than the width of the line that gets drawn, of the curve that gets drawn here with the iPad. So when we draw it, it's going to go shoo, very, very, very quickly increasing. But we do have some transformations that we need to do first. First, we need to shrink this vertically by a factor of 1/2. So when we do that, these points end up being only half as far away from the x-axis as they started. Then we need to reflect about the x-axis. So any point that is above the x-axis ends up being sent below it. And any point that's below the x-axis gets up being sent above it. And then any point on the x-axis stays there. And then finally, we need to shift everything down 2 units. So if we take these blue points and move them down 2 units, we're going to be there, there, and there. And instead of the graph going up to the right and down to the left, because we had this reflection, it's going to be going down to the right and up to the left. And it's still going to be very, 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 very steep. Shrinking vertically by 1/2 really isn't going to end up changing that too much. So the graph is effectively going to be looking like that. And then like this. It's not perfect. You can see I'm a little wobbly. I am unfortunately not a robot that can graph perfectly, but we get an idea at least of what this graph looks like. Right? From right here, at this point, it's very, very flat, and then to the right of it, it gets very steep going down, and to the left, it gets very steep going up. So this is a generally okay, mediocre graph of g of x equals negative 1/2 x to the 7th minus 2. And there we go. When we look at graphs in the next few lessons, they're not going to be this incredibly steep. We're going to get nice things where we can actually see where it's going up, where it's going down, etc. These are just the ones that we get when we use transformations.